Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your 36th physics tutorial. What if I did that every time? It would be super annoying, but maybe I'll start. Who knows? But you know what? In this tutorial, I'm going to start talking to you guys about the frequency of a wave. So the frequency of a wave is basically whenever you ask yourself, how often does a period occur? Well, that's basically what frequency is. So let's go ahead and assume that you had a pendulum much like before. And this pendulum right here, it swung, we'll say, every second. So every second, this pendulum swung back and forth. 1 second to complete that. So remember, the question of frequency is how often does a period occur? Well, in this case, we could say that frequency is equal to 1 cycle per second, or you could also write it 60 cycles per minute. It doesn't really matter. There's not like a standard frequency that we use, although with sound there's hertz, but we'll get into that later. It's basically the number of cycles over a given amount of time, whether it's seconds, minutes. That's what frequency is. So furthermore, say that we had we'll do a little bit different example because more people have trouble understanding a frequency that's less than a second. So say that a pendulum had a frequency of 4 seconds. So 1 cycle over 4 seconds. What would this mean? Then obviously, if we looked at this a little bit more, that would mean that if we reduce this, it would be 0.25 over 1 seconds. So if a pendulum had a frequency of 1 cycle every 4 seconds, then that would mean every single second it completed 4 swings. Do you understand? Easy enough. So now let's go ahead and take a look at an example that we may see in real life. Say that you had a table. Let me make this drawing good. I never make my drawings good. Okay, so we have this table. Here are 2 table legs right here. And, okay guys, you know what? I'm going to be proud of this one. Here's the table, right like that. And in our table, or on our table rather, we have a fish tank. And I might as well draw a little fish in there. Hey, I'm a fish. Look at me. Alright, so here's our fish tank right here, and we also have a pendulum set up to the side. Now, what color should I make my pendulum? Oh, I was about to draw it green, and then I noticed, oh, my freaking background is green, so I probably can't do that. So we have our pendulum right here. Here's our point, and here's our pendulum that's swinging, and every time it swings, it hits the side of the fish tank. Now again, I'm going to ask you to use your imagination and just assume or imagine that every time the pendulum hit the tank, it didn't lose any energy. Maybe this is, an ideal. We built the perfect pendulum, but I know usually it would lose energy whenever it hit. Just imagine that it doesn't. So every time it made a swing, it would hit the side of the tank, and whenever it did, it would cause a wave to appear. So let me draw this a little bit better. Alright, so there, there. So here's a wave, and here's a wave. So if the pendulum had a period of 3 seconds, then that would mean it would make a new wave every 3 seconds. Therefore, the frequency would be 1 wave every 3 seconds. Now, of course, you could go ahead and reduce it to 0.33 repeating over 1 second, but some people just think it's easier to, it all depends what form you want to write it in. So that's what people have the most trouble with whenever it's reduced to less than a second. But again, the key concept of this is basically what frequency is. Whenever you talk about frequency, it's how often does a period occur. Now, you can go ahead and write it in a simple form, like maybe if you have a simple frequency like 1 wave every 1 second, that would be easy to understand. But with more, I want to say complex frequencies where you have them occurring less than a second, it may be easier to increase the time so that way you don't have portions of waves.